Hey there guys, wanted to make a video on these two knives, the Gerber Strongarm and the Gerber Prodigy. Very popular knives for the outdoor survival and prepping community. And these are made in USA, so a continuation of a series of videos that I plan to make where I feature affordable made in US knives. And these two here are a great example of affordable, durable quality knives for an affordable price point. And I'm going to bring in one of the most hated knives on the internet just to illustrate the value of these knives in comparison to its Chinese made counterpart. So we've got the Gerber Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife, about the same size range. All of these knives basically have a 4.75 or 4.8 inch blade. This one came in gray and orange, and the new ones, they've re-released this in a gray and olive green, and they've taken out the Bear Grylls logo. Now the sheath is pretty good. You have a sharpener in there. This opens up. For those who are not familiar with the knife, let's just go over that quickly. You've got a sharpener included. There was an Ultimate Pro that came out after this. This is 7CR 13 MOV steel as far as I remember, and you do have a fire steel. Now I paid about 50 bucks for this knife in 2014. This was actually the first fixed blade knife that I purchased as an adult, and last time I owned a fixed blade was in the Scouts. It was some generic knife. And so I paid 50 bucks in 2014, and they also later released the fine edge version. Now I wish I bought the fine edge version, but this is what was sold in the big box stores. This is not a full tang. The tang ends right about here as far as I know, and there were a lot of issues with the pommel coming off. Now allegedly the later versions, they did have a stick tang and it was welded through and there were less breakages, but let's leave that out for a sec. And again, there are serrated versions of the Prodigy and the Strongarm as well. So now let's go to the Prodigy. This knife, when it first came out on Walmart, they were selling for about 50 bucks. So you had two knives from the same company, and you had an American product. They're the same price. So I would have to say go with Made in USA. Better steel as well. So you don't have the bells and whistles, you don't have the literal whistle, but you had a very similar built sheath. This was designed after the LMF2, which I don't have, but you had a really nice sheath, good retention, very little rattle, feels secure, and it's an ambidextrous sheath. All of them are ambidextrous actually. And 420 high carbon steel, made in Portland, Oregon. And you had a pommel, 90-degree spine, and we have the very popular Gerber Strongarm. Now the Strongarm and the Prodigy are made of very similar materials, but so far with what I've seen on torture tests, the Strongarm seems to be a little bit tougher. So you've got a very nice sheath here, and we'll explore that a little bit more. Very nice retention, very quiet. You got that thumb ramp. So the Prodigy and the Strongarm, I'll put that to the side, maybe even off camera. It's an eyesore for most people. So you've got the Strongarm and the Prodigy, and very similar. I prefer the handle on the Prodigy in terms of how it fills your hand, but it is shorter and you have a little bit less room in there for your hand or your pinky. It's right by the end. So if you have larger hands, so I wear large size gloves, And if you had XL or double XL hands, this knife handle might be too small for you. The Gerber Strongarm, it's flat, nice and grippy, but it doesn't fill the palm of your hand as much. And both of these are designed sort of that military combat utility style knife, and wasn't really intended for bushcrafting for long periods of time. And this guard here is often filed down by some who use this for bushcraft, just so that you don't have to keep having your thumb over it. But for short periods of time, you could use this for some woodscraft as well. Very tough knives. For those who haven't seen the reviews, you could definitely check out Joe X and even DBK. There's a lot of reviews on these two knives. This knife is now going for about $50–$60 on eBay, maybe up to $70. I wouldn't pay much more than that for this knife. At the moment, $82 on Amazon for this rated version, and you have this knife is at $69.99 today. So if you wanted to pick up a Gerber Strongarm, definitely pick one up from Amazon today. It's on sale. So you've got 5mm spines, and you could strike a ferro rod with these. You've got glass breakers. Now, Survival Lily did sort of a cross section of these knives and looked at the handles. They both have sort of a rat tail tang. It's not the same width as the blade. The blade stock sort of tapers down up to here on both of these, and it has a plastic mold, and then they wrap that with this grippier rubber. So as far as I know, the reason for that design is to insulate the blade tang, or the handle, the metal part, if you had to cut through wire. And there's a couple of military guys that I've watched, and they spoke about the LMF2 and some of these knives. You have the option of, during rescue operations, to cut through, breaking down the door, and you might have to cut through some live wires, and this will keep you from getting electrocuted. I prefer the palm swell on the Prodigy, and then you do have a better sort of hook there. One of the things that was brought up by a reviewer who served in the military, I forgot the name of the channel, is that it's good to have a handle where you could tell where the knife blade's gonna be. And I would say, although you have that here, oftentimes when I'm gripping this from the ambidextrous sheath, it's less pronounced in the strong arm. So if you were just trying to hold it, it's harder to tell where the blade is going to be just from gripping it. And these are blacked out or coated knives, so if it was dark, you're not going to be able to see that blade as easily. That's one of the points that he was making. But both very solid knives. You can bust through doors, and they do really well. Very tough. The heat treat on the 420 high carbon is pretty tough. Now, from what I've seen on the testing videos, it seems that the price point, even though these two have different or very similar materials, the reason why the Strongarm is more expensive may not just be because of the sheath, and we're going to talk about that in a second. It seems that the Strongarm is, even though they're both 420 high carbon, the heat treat might be slightly better. When I watched a video of Joe X, it looked like the Prodigy snapped much quicker during his testing in different stages before the Prodigy. And it could be the difference between the two knives. Usually the Prodigy sells for $60 on Amazon, and they sell out really quick. I mean, at Walmart, they sell out very quickly, and these are now going for $89.99, and these are going for $60. But on Amazon right now, this is actually selling for over $80. So very similarly priced, and I would probably go with a Strongarm if they were priced at the same price point. Now let's go over the sheath. A lot of people prefer the Strongarm sheath because of its modularity. You have this tab here that you press and you can pull it out, and you can carry just this sheath here. You could take off this larger belt loop and make it very compact and light. So there you go, ambidextrous sheath, nice and quiet. Now the the Prodigy, my apologies, also has an ambidextrous sheath in this sort of softer plastic molded sheath. Very easy to lash on to a Molle compatible pack. And it also has a very similar system where you can put it on PALS webbing. You can also run a belt through and have it cross draw here as well. You can run this underneath, and you could do that as well. So you could have that cross draw option, run your belt across. So the thing with the Prodigy is that the fine edge version is less available, so you have to go on eBay. I'll talk about a couple of the counterfeit risks on both of them, or at least my thoughts on it. But you can find these on eBay, and usually it's in a clamshell packaging as sold on Walmart. And I would go with the clamshell ones if you were planning to buy one on eBay. They did have a couple of limited runs from other websites, but at the moment I believe the fine edge version, I've only found them on eBay, and they're selling for around $60, maybe $70. You usually get them around $60. I would pay as close to $50 for these if you can. Let's go over the sheath though. It comes with a loop that was attached to this part, which at the time I bought this, it made no sense. I'll probably do a comparison video. I have another one sealed in package, and I'll see if I can show that comparison. But you had this loop that I had to cut off here, and it really didn't serve much of a purpose. And initially you had these bolts, these screws that were bolted through. So what I did was I cut that off. I saw a video where the and another channel where the YouTuber content maker did just cut all of these through. You don't actually have to cut all of them, you just have to cut the one on the bottom. And what you could do is make a lighter sheath. Now this part here weighs 2.8 ounces for the ounce counters over there. But the reason why I did this is you can leave this attached to your pack if you like the Molle style pack, or even lash it onto the outside of your pack. And when you're in camp, you could just take this part off. So what I did was I got some webbing from, I believe, an old messenger bag, and I just attached it and screwed it into the back of the sheath. And now I have the ability to remove it from my backpack without taking the backer off. And now I have a pretty secure way of walking around camp with a lighter package. Pretty secure. There's a little bit of rattle, but it's not coming out. So, and this one in this configuration weighs less than 10 ounces. So pretty versatile sheath system still. Now it doesn't quite look as fancy as the Gerber Strongarm sheath, but it's pretty serviceable in my opinion. All right. So there you go. And let me see here. So yeah, all in all, really good value for these two knives. 420 high carbon, both made in the USA. And again, pretty comparable and competitive pricing when you compare it to the Chinese counterpart here at $50. And as far as I remember, the Gerber Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Pro Knife, which was 8CR or 9CR MOV, that thing was, the MSRP was $70 or $90 on that knife. So definitely really good buys here. So check them out if you haven't checked them out already. Again, the Gerber Strongarm and Prodigy, proudly made in USA. So really good, affordable options. So I forgot to mention a point I was trying to make regarding counterfeit versions of these knives. So there are a lot of counterfeit knives of the Gerber Strongarm. So be very careful when purchasing this knife. And I would say the same for a lot of other knives. I've found clones of Benchmade, videos of cloned Benchmades, and they seems to be very hard to tell regarding the Adamas, and it has all the stamps and everything. But the Gerber Strongarm, it seems that there are more fakes of this knife online. And one of the videos I watched where they featured both the fake and the real one. I purchased this from Dick's Sporting Goods, so one of the things you could do is purchase it from a reputable seller, and the fake one, the made in USA Portland, Oregon writing is blurry. So that's one of the ways to tell, according to this person, but I'm sure, different companies, the color's slightly off as well. So just watch out for those. I think there are more fake strong arms out there. Now with the Prodigy, especially the fine edge version, Walmart, as far as I know, unless you have really old stock, the newer versions have come in clamshell packaging. So if it comes in a box, a lot of the fake stuff seems to come in a box versus a clamshell. And that's how the Bear Grylls fakes were as well, as far as I remember the videos. So if you find the Gerber Prodigy, it looks like most of the fakes are also the serrated versions and not the fine edge version, apparently. So little cues, little writings. The writing on the original ones are much, much more clear. So definitely watch out for that. So if you were going to purchase this from eBay, I would go with a clamshell. There's really no way to guarantee. If you can find these at Walmart, definitely get it from that or a reputable online seller. So just be cautious, especially when buying for the holidays. I know everybody's going out there to purchase gifts. So guys, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos.